Welcome to Damn Weird. And in this, I'm going to attempt to organize my collective thoughts on various unusual events and things and people that have occurred and things I've studied. Just a way to organize them here onto YouTube for me. Now, we're going to start with some of the easier things, simply because we need kind of a foundation for our studies, for something to look at. These are things that maybe shouldn't exist, but do.
Now we're getting to the more unusual ones. Talking about here are the gray aliens, also referred to as alien grays with an E, grays with an A, Roswell grays, possibly with an E or an A, and then the Zeta Reticulans. The alleged extraterrestrial beings whose existence is promoted in UFOlogy, paranormal, and New Age communities, and who are named for their unique skin color. And I'll repeat here, UFOs are unidentified flying objects. But when it tends that we go with UFO, some reason I find more people automatically attach that to mean flying saucer. And it doesn't. I'm sure some sort of South American fruit that I've never seen flying through the air, I couldn't identify. That would be a UFO. It's not a flying saucer. It again goes back to repeating the issue of ruining your own evidence. Once you start doing that, you'll find that your words will be turned against you by the skeptics. 43% of all reported alien encounters in the United States describe gray aliens. Such claims vary in every respect, including their nature, ETs, extraterrestrials, demons, or even machines. Origins, moral disposition, intentions, and physical appearance in a variation of their skin colors. The composite descriptions derived from overlaps in claims would have grays as small-bodied, sexless beings with smooth, gray-colored skin and large hairless heads and large black eyes. The origin of the idea of grays is commonly associated with Barney and Betty Hill abductions, which was claimed to have taken place in 1961. Although skeptics and persecutors in science fiction and earlier paranormal claims, the gray aliens are also famous from earlier depictions of the Roswell UFO incident from 1947. Two issues on that one I'd like to cover. About the Barney and Betty Hill abduction, the most amazing thing I find about it was, I have to state, due to the society at the time, there was a lot of issue with a black man married to a white woman. And they were government employees. Such a report was an endangerment to their lives as well as their jobs. There's nothing to gain and everything to lose in this activity. They just came forth because they needed help. So on that I've always stood, that if they weren't abducted, what did happen? Because something happened to them that evening. And then also in the statement of the Roswell UFO incidents from 1947. In most, if not all of my research into that, I found that there were very few reports of actual aliens in the early days of the crash. Later on, these became more common as to what date, and if it happened before 1961, that's where it starts to get iffy. In 1965, newspapers reported of Betty Hill and Barney Hill's abduction brought the Greys to international attention. The alleged abductees, Betty and Barney Hill, claimed that in 1961, alien beings had abducted them and taken them to a flying saucer or a saucer-shaped spaceship. The term Greys did not come into usage until many years later, though. But the beings described by the Hills generally fit the characteristics of the Greys. From a star chart that was even reported by Betty Hill, Marjorie Fish, an elementary school teacher and amateur astronomer, located the home planet of these beings in the Zeta Reticuli star system, allegedly the fourth planet of one of the stars of the Zeta Reticuli binary system. The Greys therefore sometimes became known as Zeta Reticulans. Although I don't know if they've been informed that that's what we called their planet. Greys are commonly included in alien abduction claims among reports of supposed alien encounters. Greys make up approximately 50% in Australia, 43% in the United States, 90% in Canada, 67% in Brazil, 20% in the continental Europe, and 12% in the United Kingdom. These reports include two distinct groups of Greys that differ in height. Abductees say that they recognize their leaders of these abductees as by its demeanor. Some UFOologists and abduction researchers believe that taller Greys, with their reported increased authority and apparently more complex physiology or psychology, may be the only Grey type to be biologically alive, and that the shorter forms could be artificially constructed robots or cyborg servants. On this, I will mention, I have a pacemaker. I am a cyborg. It's very possible that large groups of society can go in this direction. Just as well, in our own society, sadly enough, we've split into a hierarchy and a working class, and a class in between that does what the hierarchy tells them, or they will never become upper class, to help them oppress the lower class. But in this, the lower class, by some projectionists in evolution theory, they look at, especially nowadays, that there is gene manipulation in birth, but it's highly expensive. So, the concept is the rich would evolve in one direction, the poor may evolve in another. Where the rich could get a new limb or a new organ, the poor may have to go with mechanical replacements. Not that this is what's going on necessarily, but it is something that is possible. And even reflected by our own society. Some alien abduction reports have depicted variant skin colors, such as blue grays, green grays, purple grays, or sometimes not gray at all. The skin is typically described as being extremely smooth, almost as if made of an artificial material like rubber or plastic. I also, as an artist, must point out that the color of things, especially in the case with something like a gray, are so much affected by the lights around them. And that's without eliminating all alternate sources of light. It's hard to say exactly what the color is. Outdoor sightings would probably, especially during the day, would be most reliable. Also the least common. Abduction claims have often described an extremely traumatic, similar to an abduction by humans or even a sexual assault, in the level of trauma and distress. Research has shown that emotional impact of perceived abduction can be as great or even greater than that of combat, sexual abuse, and other traumatic events. The eyes are often a focus of abduction claims. They are said to not move or focus in any observable way to the naked eye. Claims have often described the Greys as staring into the eyes of abductees when conducting mental procedures. This staring is claimed to induce hallucinations, a state or directly provoke different emotions. Although abductions claimants often say that the Greys was only inches from their face during the staring mind scan procedure, they often subsequently claim to not feel a breath or seeing the Grey's chest move from the breathing. Although one thing that I've seen in my research is that the black of the eyes is actually a film placed over it, kind of like we wear sunglasses. possibly some to adapt to it. We may have a lot brighter sun than they have. Okay, some of the theories on the Greys are psychological expression of intelligence. According to neurologist Dr. Stephen Novella, argues that the Greys idea is a byproduct of human imagination, with the Greys' most distinctive features representing everything from modern humans to traditionally linked with intelligence. While the mother hypothesis in 2007, Frederick V. Malmstrom presented his hypothesis that Greys are actually residual memories of early childhood development. Malmstrom reconstructs the face of the Greys through transformation of a mother's face, based on our best understanding of early childhood sensations and perceptions. I discount these theories and to one basic principle. Freud and anything from his sciences is useless. Freud was a coke-addled madman whose theories seem only applied to the evaluation of himself, and any use of this madman's science is as criminal as the whole theory and how it was applied to behavioral science, another victim of psychology. Evolutionary feasibility debate. I've heard a lot on this. According to English reproduction biologist Jack Cohen, the typical image of the Grey given to what would have evolved from a world with a different environment and ecological conditions from Earth is too physiologically similar to a human to be credible as a representation of an alien. First one on this is no one said they were from a different environment, an ecological condition from Earth. If it was, they wouldn't care to come here. And on this one, I'll just... the whole theory prepositions that all species would even see a value to all species. Maybe only alien species like ours would ever care to stop long enough to look, while some cross-dimensional ether-based beings pass by a bunch of humans on a picnic. Stop and think for a second. Wow, those bacteria on those carbon-based deposits are cool. Then leave. The human or bacteria-covered carbon forms never noticed, and no one knowing that the presence of greatness had been there. Some conspiracy theories believe that the Greys represent part of a government-led disinformation or plausibility deniability campaign, or they are a product of the government's mind control experiments. Dr. Stephen Greer, founder of the Disclosure Project, head of CSETI, and a prominent UFO conspiracy theorist, claims to have over 400 government and military and intelligence community witnesses that have offered testimony to the existence of aliens and UFOs, or efforts to cover up their existence, and who have stated they would be willing to defend their claims under oath. Certain things come to mind from all of this to look at. The commonality of the nationality of the types of people that are viewing this from many countries, very similar sites, and how often they're seen. More often than Bigfoot. You'll find people arguing which they believe more or less exist. Then we have, well, we've been seeing them, but we don't know for sure if they're alien. We're assuming on that part. Are they alien or not? Can we discount the viewing if we can't have aliens? No. Something was seen. So if not alien, then what? Where is the disbelief coming from? My childhood investigation of UFOs came to a theory of an avian species, early on affected by their own population, much as eggs are more susceptible to the changes of the environment for birds. Finding us and enamored by our own internal non-egg breeding system, decided to study it. In light of all the other theories I've said, it seems as valid as anyone else's to me. My biggest questions would be that we need to look at on this one are, what would drive an advanced species to be as invasive as they are? Although we don't do much different with animals, and that may be how they see us. But the other side is, why are they so bad at hiding it? Why can they not fully wipe the memories if it is happening? Are they sloppy or just in a hurry? One would have to question, is the fate of their own species at risk? And that's what would cause them to make such choices, go such distances, do such wrong things. Thank you.